Here at Capcom,
we're really excited that we get to be the studio that brings
shit
into the next generation. With this being an all-new Call of Duty, we've really taken this opportunity to revamp
shit.
We've added fluid dynamics, interactive smoke, and also added an AI system to it. So we have
shit.
Move out of the way when you get close to them. This is powered by a new next-gen engine that gives us amazing graphic fidelity and really innovative
shit.
We have the best fans in the world, and we're committed to creating for them a new next-generation Call of Duty experience.
You know, so many good games that I will be willing to buy or either import stood out at the Tokyo Game Show press conference of 2015 a couple of days ago. It was an event that was certainly leagues better than the awful 2014 showing, and just sitting there being endlessly hammered over the brain with so many uninteresting indies over and over again. But I'm not even going to get into the horrible aspects of TGS. The only advice I'm going to give is cohesion, people. It means the most. Keep expectations high, bring your big guns, do not dwell or chop up the presentation into a commercial that shows for 3 segments in a row. Just a thought, just advice. Now, things like Nioh were actually stellar to my attention span, a samurai hack and slash that a lot of folks correlated to the next Onimusha, and since Capcom clearly isn't doing anything with that dormant franchise, this looks like a successor that I'm going to enjoy. Other things that interested me at TGS was the fact that Gravity Rush is getting ported to the PS4 and having an eventual sequel, and Yakuza 1 is getting a full-fledged remake of the first game from the PS2 era. Not only that, they're following up to the insanity that was Yakuza 5, and they're making a Yakuza 6. All these games seem to please the fan base relatively well with the things that they want and they want to see done. But as you can see, this is not all I'm going to talk about today. Far from it. Capcom was there last night, and they had the chance to grace us with some more Call of Evil Resident of Duty, since clearly that's one of the good things that happened in this fan base ever since Operation Raccoon City was so well received, right? Oh, their solution is just to take a dump of filler that appeases the frag heads, and I'll be the first to say that I was a bit disappointed by this, from the mere fact that I'm finding the whole franchise identity crisis bullshit to be in greater leaps and bounds with stuff like this, even if it's just a side thing. I personally think for a 20th anniversary that celebrates the art of good suspense, and what made survival horror coined in the first place, should have been taken more seriously in my opinion. But releasing this multiplayer filler makes it all seem out of whack, even unexpected to the eye, even unwarranted to some fans. Now, I have to admit, I see a lot of people comparing this to Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I personally have not played that game, and here I won't knock that game's merits alone gameplay wise because I actually haven't played it, but I can tell you this now, from all reports I saw of it, I didn't like what I was hearing. A 5-hour campaign. I saw other reports of the other team that you supposedly play as having their campaign chopped up and locked away as DLC. It's just unacceptable, people, and this is the point I'm presenting to you today. If this game is very much like ORC and a spin-off and it's actually bad, then there could be a problem, and then there's a need for people like me to be skeptical as a big Resident Evil aficionado. And I'm skeptical for a reason, because the premise is simple, people. I'm not going to let Capcom shit on a hot paper plate and serve it to me without noticing a game's merits, faults, and positives. This is why you wait. This is why you wait to see how things like this develops, because regardless of your argument about this is a side project that has nothing to do with Capcom's progression in the Resident Evil franchise, it's still a game. a game that's not out, but an eventual game that's going to be coated with the Resident Evil paint job, and it's going to be judged as one to see if it's up to snuff with even being a competent multiplayer shooter, and it's going to be judged and see if it keeps relevant interest until the next Resident Evil title comes out. As I said before, filler, and if it's not good, then oh boy, you can expect one hell of a review from your boy for sure. Now, let's get to some interesting highlights that we can glean from the gameplay trailer, and it's sort of mixed up. I saw some things that had first person to third person perspectives in terms of shooting, which is not too bad at first. Then you can certainly see the crazy stuff going on, some interesting things like the characters using these mini scythes that can latch onto walls or enemies. I saw perks like you can use some sort of tactical stomp as a final blow to enemies that's just ridiculous. I saw stuff where zombies, one of the very obvious and feared creatures in this verse of Resident Evil, being thrown around like hacky sacks via the zombie meat shield technique. Like I said, I'm all glad that they threw Resident Evil out of the title, because if I wanted to play Dead Rising online, I would just grab a co-op buddy or something, and then in order to make it competitive, I might beat him over the head with a dildo or some shit. But they're also introducing this whole analog control scheme as some sort of revolutionary thing going on with this game. People might say that I'm being a little too hard on this game, but let me give you some perspective. Operation Raccoon City as a game on its own did not impress me enough to go out and pay the $60 for it. And that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes that I haven't bought it on Steam yet. That speaks volume that there can be video games created that doesn't reel the user in and doesn't make them interested upon first glance as a consumer. And I'm going to take an honest vow and just see where this goes. The only thing I can hope for is that this experience does not further continue to disappoint me from all aspects just besides the presentation. The timing of it was pretty lame, and I'm just going to say I'll be willing to give the game a shot, but always be aware of the fact that it doesn't mean that every game is in the end zone of always winning people over. People like me in particular, people who have been critical about this franchise and their presentation for a while now. Best case scenario, it'll be a fun little mindless shooter to pass time until the Resident Evil 2 remake or the eventual Resident Evil 7. Until then, I won't hold my breath. Capcom, you've been doing well so far, but here's my advice, as usual. Don't fuck it up, because your past fuck-ups before you started to get better, there is no covering that up.